Welcome back, everybody. We are up to lessons 21 and 22 of Unit 2. These are actually the last two lessons of Unit 2. And in this video, we're going to talk about solving rational equations, basically solving equations that involve rational functions. And the name of the game when solving equations like this is going to be cross-multiplying. So we're going to solve rational equations by cross-multiplying and then basically solving the resulting equation like we normally do. The thing to caution is that very often you could end up with a quadratic. So if you end up with a quadratic, you're going to solve by factoring or by using the quadratic formula. So let's go ahead and look at my first example here. I have 2x plus 1 over x equals 1 over x minus 2. So when I say cross multiply, I literally mean cross multiply. So like this. So this diagonal here is going to be 2x plus 1 times x minus 2. And then the other diagonal is going to be x times 1. Well, anything times 1 is itself. So I'm going to have to multiply this out using the box method. So let me set this up real quick. And let's quickly multiply this out. So 2x times x is going to be 2x squared. 1 times x is 1x. Negative 2 times 2x is going to be a negative 4x. And negative 2 times 1 is going to be a negative 2. So put this together, I end up with 2x squared, and then negative 4 and positive 1x, that's going to be a negative 3x, and then minus 2. So 2x squared minus 3x minus 2. 2x squared minus 3x minus 2. Okay, and now I'm just going to set that equal to x because I'm going to bring this down. So this indeed is a quadratic. So to do that, I need to rewrite it so that it says equals 0 at the end, which means I need to subtract x from both sides. So I'm going to subtract x from over here as well. So when I do that, I end up with 2x squared, negative 3, and negative 1x becomes negative 4x minus 2 equals 0. So 2x squared minus 4x minus 2 equals 0. Let me rewrite that up here. Because all the terms here are even, I can divide each term by 2 to make things a little easier. So that's what I'm going to do to make things a little bit easier. So 2x squared divided by 2 is going to be x squared. Okay. Negative 4x divided by 2 is going to be negative 2x. Okay. And negative 2 divided by 2 is going to be negative 1 equals 0. So I have x squared minus 2x minus 1 equals 0. So I can go ahead and try and factor this. I need two numbers that would add up to negative 2 and multiply to negative 1. So two numbers that when I add them, I get negative 2, and when I multiply those same two numbers, I get negative 1. Okay. Only way that could happen, well, would be negative 1 and positive 1, and that's not going to work. So I'm just going to use the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula, I got to identify my a, b, and c value. So my a is going to be 1. My b is going to be negative 2, and my c is going to be negative 1. So if you forgot the quadratic formula, this is the quadratic formula. It's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. So I'm going to plug in 1 for a, negative 2 for b, and negative 1 for c. So I'm going to have negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So in this case, I have negative 2. Negative 2 is positive 2. Negative 2 squared is going to be 4. Okay. Here I have negative 4 times 1 times positive 1. So negative 4 times 1 times positive 1, that's going to be a positive 4. Okay. Divided by 2. Okay. So this is going to give me 2 plus and minus the square root of 8 over 2. 2 plus and minus the square root of 8 over 2. In this case, 8 is not a perfect square, so I know the answer is going to be a decimal. So I'm going to go on my calculator, and I'm going to use Desmos on my phone. So I'm going to do 2 plus square root of 8 divided by 2. So 2 plus square root of 8 divided by 2. And I end up with approximately 2.41. And then down below, I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to do 2 minus the square root of 8 divided by 2. And I end up with approximately negative 0.41. So my two solutions are right down here in the corner. 2.41 and negative 0.41. Okay, so that's the first example here. Okay. Second example, now I have 12 over 6 plus r equals 4 over 6 minus r. When I cross multiply here, that's going to be 12 times 6 minus r equals 4 times 6 plus r. So multiply and multiply. So to simplify this, I need to distribute. Okay. So 12 times 6 is going to be 72. So this is going to be 72 minus 12r. And then 4 times 6 is 24. This is going to be 24 plus 4r. So what I'm going to do to make things easier is I'm going to take this minus 12r and I'm going to move this over. So I'm going to add 12r to both sides. So that will get rid of that. And then I'm going to take the 24 and I'm going to move this over here. So I'm taking all the constants and moving them to the left-hand side, and I'm taking all of the r terms and moving them over to the right-hand side. And when I do that, I end up with 72 minus 24. So that's going to be 48 equals 4r plus 12r, which is 16r. And then I can just finish this off by dividing both sides by 16. So 48 divided by 16, I'm going to get r equals 3. So this one was not a quadratic. This was a regular linear equation, but I still solved it the same way. That is it for this lesson.